The United States, a powerful nation home to 331.9 million people, with the world's largest economy by GDP. The land of the free has the biggest military, the most McDonald's, and the fourth highest prevalence of diabetes. Essentially, USA number one, best country in the world. However, this beautiful country has only one flaw: their passenger rail network sucks. But with all their resources, competent government officials, and stand up citizens, one is led to wonder, why is the US passenger rail network so much worse than the rest of the world? Well, the answer to that one is not so simple. See, for a while, the United States was the passenger rail country of the world. Our nation was built on rail. The Transcontinental Railroad of 1869 connected the East to the West and facilitated westward expansion like never before, increasing population in western states and creating entire towns due to its existence. Passenger rail in the East was so abundant and efficient that it dwarfed rail service even today. However, this focus on rail began to falter after World War II, as cars began to receive extensive federal investment and aid. The biggest policies included the Federal Aid Highway Act of 1956, which built highways across the country on taxpayer dollars, the Federal Housing Authority's mortgage policy, which offered extremely cheap mortgages on large, suburban, single family, and car dependent houses, and mandatory parking minimums, the first of which being established in 1923, which required any development to have a certain minimum of parking. These regulations made cars more economical and convenient than trains. As such, development patterns in the US began to cater even further to cars, making trains less convenient overall. At the same time, airlines were heavily subsidized, and passenger rail simply couldn't keep up. By the end of it all, the government took over all of the remaining rail companies, forming Amtrak, which, through great management and funding, was able to revive America's dying passenger rail network. Not! With little funding and a shrinking customer base, Amtrak provided lackluster service and is only just now making a slow crawl back to passenger rail's former glory as the long distance transit champion of the United States. Now listen, I can already hear you whine, but why do we need passenger rail? My Tesla can go 300 miles on a charge and is way better than gas cars. Shh, shh, hush now. Stop your whining. Have a seat and let me explain to you all the benefits of passenger rail and clarify exactly what we miss out on by having poor service. I'm going to lay it out for you nice and simple. Passenger rail is safe, sustainable, and allows for cities to develop densely while combating car dependency. As for safety, passenger rail has a great record. Planes are a little bit safer, but trains are 10 times safer than driving when looking at deaths per mile traveled. As a society, we collectively turn a blind eye to the ridiculous numbers of car crashes that happen every day, writing them off as unavoidable and simply a fact of modern life, which they absolutely are not. In 2022 alone, 42,795 people died in car crashes. Over the same span of time, just 7 trained passengers die. Travel by train is also the most sustainable option when compared to driving or flying. As you can see in the graph, passenger rail emits 4 times less carbon than even the most eco-friendly flight. In addition to being safe and sustainable, passenger rail can help transform cities. In most of the US, cars are almost required to live due to the way that American city design accommodates cars over all else. This is called car dependency. It is characterized by urban sprawl, a sense of placelessness, and a lack of viable car alternatives. Car dependency is costly due to its inherent danger, intense infrastructure demands, worsening of mental and physical health, and tendency to drain city taxes without providing a positive return. It can be combated when viable alternatives are provided, such as intercity passenger rail. Trains are much more efficient than cars and can move massive amounts of people to city centers without requiring nearly as much space. Trains don't need excessive parking or overbuilt roads and freeways. This saved space can then be used to create denser developments, which in turn benefit greatly from having access to transit nearby. The pattern of transit and development being used to defeat car-dependent infrastructure can be seen in larger cities such as New York City, in which only 45% of households own a car. When compared to the 91.7% of households that own a car nationwide, it is clear that New York City's density and incredible transit make it more feasible to live car-free. Okay, So the US misses out on safe, sustainable transit that helps to dismantle car dependency. That all sounds great, but how can we build passenger rail to the point that such benefits can be reaped? For some inspiration, we can look to the passenger rail systems of Japan, one of the most rail accessible countries in the world. Japan has incredible nationwide service, with trains so fast they often beat cars in their trip times. The country is a poster child for integration of high-speed rail, with the most well-known being the Shinkansen maglev line. In terms of mode share, passenger rail accounts for 32.9% of long-distance trips, while the US passenger rail has a measly mode share of 0.3%. Japan has been able to achieve such high passenger rail use by investing massive amounts in its development. Nearly every city has its very own rail station, and lines are electrified and modernized for heavy use at high speeds. Another reason for Japan's success is its unusual approach to passenger rail development. As rail developers buy up land for stations, they buy excess amounts of land in the area with the intention of densely developing it in the future. This provides a guaranteed customer base for the future line, while also creating housing in which people will most likely use transit to get around. While other countries blow US passenger rail out of the water, it still has some good services that offer competitive and efficient service. One example of good passenger rail service is the Northeast Corridor, which is operated and owned by Amtrak. This corridor began development in the 1830s and was finally connected into one continuous route in 1917. Today, the route is by far the busiest in the nation, carrying 260 million passengers every year, with 2,200 trains running every day between major cities with high travel demands, such as Providence, New Haven, Stamford, New York City, Trenton, Philadelphia, Wilmington, and Baltimore. Trains on this line are electrified and operate at top speeds of 125 miles per hour, just barely meeting the minimum speed of 124 miles per hour to be considered a high-speed rail on upgraded tracks, but still much better than the vast majority of U.S. routes. This corridor works so well due to its fast, frequent service, ability to compete with cars and planes, and connections between populous cities with high demand for intercity travel. Many other city pairs with similar demand exist everywhere across the US, but as of right now, our passenger rail network does not take advantage of them. Another US-based project that is succeeding in bringing back fast, efficient passenger rail is Brightline. This is the first private company to develop passenger rail service in over a decade, and so far it is doing a great job. As of right now, they offer service in Florida between Orlando and Miami, with trains capable of reaching speeds of 125 miles per hour. This company succeeds because they own almost all of the rail their trains operate on, they build between large cities with high travel demand, and they offer a more comfortable and convenient experience than driving or flying. When taking the train, it is recommended to arrive just 20 minutes before the time of departure, and seating is comfortable and spacious. Compared to a plane or the stresses of driving, it is a much more civil and relaxing experience. Brightline is also aiming to create a line that connects Las Vegas Valley to Rancho Cucamonga, what the heck? Brightline is also aiming to create a line that connects the Las Vegas Valley and Rancho Cucamonga in California, which will be completed by 2027. So overall, the US has a lot of catching up to do. However, massive steps are being made towards a better, more sustainable future in which passenger rail is a viable mode of transit. As long as we maintain the momentum we have now, we can begin to revitalize America's passenger rail network and reap the incredible benefits it has to offer.